Despite his warning that going on that trip might be a deal breaker, I went nonetheless and shared a picture of myself in a bikini with my closest male friend. What was I supposed to do after all? Let him decide where I can go and who I can hang out with? I'm Paisley, a 29-year-old who is still struggling to comprehend how one foolish beach weekend caused my entire life to fall apart. I had been married to Zachary for 4 years. For the most part, everything was going well. We had respectable employment, a very typical existence, and our starter home that we were gradually renovating. I have an office job that pays the bills, and he works in project management, which occasionally requires him to travel. We were comfortable even though we were not wealthy or anything. Before Austin suddenly became such a big problem, I thought we were set. Since our sophomore year in college, Austin and I have been buddies. Before I met Zachary, we for a short time, but it was only a few weeks of hanging together and ended on its own. That aspect was irrelevant, and to be honest, it would have only generated unnecessary drama, so I never felt the need to share it with Zachary. My go-to person for venting or just hanging out without worrying about anything is Austin. Every year, our group of friends has a ritual of visiting Myrtle Beach. Despite everyone growing older, getting married, and some starting families, we've managed to maintain it since it began in college. It's the one event I look forward to, each year. 3 days off from work, just unwinding and having fun with the individuals I've known for ages. Zachary unexpectedly encountered an issue with it this year. For months, he had been mentioning in passing how close Austin and I were. Zachary would make these small jabs about how I get excited when Austin calls, or he would sigh dramatically and ask, "What does Austin want now?" after Austin would text me late. It seemed so childish that I would roll my eyes and continue on. Then it got out of hand. We were having dinner 2 weeks prior to the trip when Zachary suddenly blurted, "I don't think you should go to Myrtle Beach this year." I assumed he was kidding, so I chuckled. I was shocked to see that he was serious. He expressed disapproval of the energy between Austin and me. In fact, he called it inappropriate. In 4 years, I have never cheated on Zachary. I was infuriated by the charge. The dispute became heated. I told him that I've known these friends for a lot longer than he has, and they are my oldest. In response, he had rummaged through my phone while I was taking a shower. They were just plans for the vacation and some inside jokes, nothing nasty at all. Zachary, however, became obsessed with a single communication in which Austin expressed his excitement about seeing me in my new bikini. Zachary pretended it was a secret code, even though it was a harmless remark regarding a bikini I had shown our entire group chat. He then gave the ultimatum. "It's a deal breaker if you accompany him on this trip." Exactly what you said. A deal breaker. I wanted to spend 3 days at the beach with people I've known for eternity, and he was willing to discard our 4 years of marriage. I would be lying if I claimed that I didn't think about staying at home for 5 minutes or so, but the more I considered it, the more irate I became. Who was he to force me to make a decision and put me through this? He admired about me when we first met was my independence. All of a sudden, it's an issue. So I decided. I refused to be controlled by him. I informed him I was leaving and that we could discuss his trust concerns when I returned. I then packed my luggage. When I left, he hardly said goodbye, instead, just sitting on the couch and looking at his phone as if I hadn't been there. I was too obstinate to admit that it hurt. I assumed that while I was away, he would calm down and see how absurd he was acting. I never imagined that a weekend getaway would be the spark that would extinguish my entire existence. What's the worst? Some small voice in the back of my mind was whispering that perhaps, just possibly, I knew precisely what I was doing when I hit the post button on that picture. However, I wasn't yet prepared to hear that voice. It should have been a leisurely journey to Myrtle Beach, but I kept checking my phone. Zachary did not respond. No call, no text, nothing. It hurt, but I told myself I was relieved there was no drama to deal with. He couldn't even send a drive-safe message after 4 years of dating. In any case, I turned up my music selection and forced myself to forget about him. Austin was on the porch with a beer when I pulled up to the beach house. He hugged me tightly and murmured in a whisper, "I'm proud of you for coming." There was something about his tone that made my stomach turn. As he assisted me in carrying my baggage inside, He informed me of the arrivals and the weekend's schedule. As usual, the house, a huge terrace, a view of the beach, and 6 bedrooms. Our friend Tiffany gave me a sideways look when I walked in. "So Zachary was cool with you coming?" she inquired. "He'll get over it," I murmured, rolling my eyes. She didn't seem persuaded. We had our customary bonfire on the beach that first evening. When Zachary's absence was brought up, I started to become defensive. "He doesn't own me," I shouted, perhaps a little too loudly. I felt seen in a way Zachary hadn't in months. Austin nodded in agreement and continued, "We're not joined at the hip. Paisley's always been independent. That's what makes her Paisley." As the drinks came in, I thought Austin and I were sitting closer to one another. Old habits. Smiling at his jokes, letting my hand rest on his arm when he said something amusing. Nothing indecent. He recommended a brief swim around midnight. Wearing our dinner clothes, we entered the water since it looked so enticing in the moonlight, even though the others had already left for the house. It was thrilling, but the water was frigid. We made a splash. I completely forgot about my domestic issues for a short while when I was around children. I checked my phone once more when I got home, but Zachary had not responded. I opened Facebook, added a picture of a beach sunset, and wrote a quote. "Sometimes the people who claim to love you the most are the ones who try to clip your wings." I then waited as the likes poured in. Things truly took a turn for the worse the next day. I wore my new bikini, the one Austin had mentioned, when we spent the morning at the beach. I felt brave even though it was more revealing than what I typically wore. Austin suggested a picture of the two of us while everyone else was snapping pictures. His hand was slightly lower than it should have been, yet his arm wrapped around my waist and drew me in. Something changed between us as soon as the camera clicked. Austin and I wound up alone on the deck after having too many margaritas at the beachside bar. He said that he had often pondered what would have transpired if we had given our relationship a serious chance during our time in college. Instead of changing the topic, I acknowledged that I had also pondered it. After a series of events, we found ourselves back in his room. I had that line etched in my head. We didn't have sex. However, we undoubtedly crossed boundaries in what we did. I made a foolish, practical excuse for it right away. If we didn't go all the way, it wasn't really cheating. I uploaded the bikini picture of Austin and me that night because I was feeling careless and perhaps wanted to harm Zachary the way he had damaged me with his ultimatum. I said in the caption, "Making memories with the people who truly matter. Beach vibes. Best friends." I quickly shut off my phone so I wouldn't have to watch Zachary's response. A part of me felt vindicated, but another part realized I had crossed a limit. Here was my response to his attempt to manipulate me. It seemed like it took forever to get home. When I opened my phone back on Sunday morning, I saw a ton of notifications, messages from people we had in common and compliments on the picture, but nothing from Zachary. Anger was worse than the silence. I kept thinking about Tiffany's words the entire journey after she had pulled me aside before I left and said, "I hope that post was worth it." I felt something wasn't right when I pulled into our driveway. The house felt different. I called his name as I entered, but there was no response. Then I noticed that his closet was only partially occupied, with only my belongings left in the drawers of his dresser. As I hurried from room to room, my heart was racing. "Staying at Jake's. We need to talk, but not tonight." I found his letter in the kitchen. I called him right away, but he put me on voicemail. "Are you serious right now? You're moving out because of a photo?" I texted, and then I sobbed uncontrollably while sitting on our kitchen floor. The following day, he finally visited. I had hardly slept at all, practicing all of my arguments, but the man who entered wasn't Zachary, as I had anticipated. He was cool and collected. Like a stranger, he sat at our kitchen table. He said, "So you're back," in a bland voice. "Don't do that on your trip with Austin. I lost my temper. Don't act like I did something really bad. I received an ultimatum from you." He showed me a picture of me on his phone. "Paisley is more than just a beach photo. This is your willful attempt to harm and degrade me." Once he read the comments where pals inquired about his whereabouts, to which Austin replied with a winking emoji. Comments from people I hardly knew. "You exposed our marital issues. he stated. You wanted to show off your defiance of me to everyone. I retorted, you went through my phone. You made an effort to restrict my access to places and people. After reading texts that unnerved me, I begged you not to go on a single trip with a man who obviously wants more than friendship. That's all. He rubbed his eyes as though he was worn out. But this isn't even about Austin, I insisted. Then, what is it about? It's about respect, Paisley. It's about you always needing to test how much I'll take. The innocent flirting with other guys when we're out, the way you shut me out of your friend group, how you're always the victim when we fight. He gave me such a disappointed face. I am aware of what transpired with Austin after seeing the beach photo. My blood froze. Nothing happened. I tell you out of habit. Don't, he said, raising his hand. Katie saw you coming out of his room at 2 a.m. She texted me because she was worried. I was in a tight spot. As I repeated, we didn't have sex. That's not cheating. Zachary's expression was one of incredulity as he simply gazed at me. Do you actually believe that anything short of intercourse is acceptable with another man? I defended myself by saying, it's not like I planned it. And maybe if you hadn't been so controlling, I wouldn't have... He spoke quietly yet firmly. No more making this my fault. I'm staying at Jake's for now. I need space to think. I remarked, you're overreacting, as my anxiety increased. This was not how it was intended to proceed. I came back, didn't I? I'm here physically. Maybe, he said as he left, but you haven't been present in this marriage for a long time, Paisley, and neither have I. That's on both of us. I got the awful feeling that I had misread everything when he left, that what I had assumed was a game of chicken, who would give up first, was really the end of something I wasn't prepared to lose. The fallout hit like a tsunami after Zachary left. My error was to check Facebook, where that dumb bikini photo had grown into a full thing. Zachary was receiving favorable comments from mutual friends. Sending you strength, Zay, my cousin Amber replied, along with a heart emoji, even though I assumed she was firmly on the Paisley side, as if I were the antagonist in this tale. I sobbed as I called my mother. I told her my side of the story, including Zachary's domineering demeanor, the ultimatum, and my desire for a simple weekend with friends. At first, she was understanding and said she would speak with him. She remarked, he's always been so reasonable. However, 3 days after she had spoken to Zach, she said, I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. Her voice abruptly shifted. She insisted, with Austin? She continued talking about marital vows and respect, saying, Paisley, I raised you better than that. She practically hung up on me when I attempted to explain my technical flaw of not actually having sex. I was even being judged by my own mother. Then there was the embarrassing encounter with Megan, Austin's girlfriend. She was unable to go due to work, so I hadn't seen her since the trip. She came up to my cart at the supermarket store, her eyes ice cold. She said, Hey, Paisley, with a smile that stopped short of her eyes. I was unable to eat. How was the beach? Austin told me you all had quite the weekend. It was fun. I managed, same as always. She moved in closer and continued, Just so you know, he laughed about it later. He said you seemed to think it meant something, that it was just Paisley being Paisley. I felt like I had been slapped. She watched me. You know, Austin told me everything about your little after-hours activities. Weekly? He's my friend, I said. No, honey. He's my boyfriend, who you've been inappropriate with, and you're a married woman who should know better. She drove her shopping cart by me. Or we're married women, I suppose. Zachary's filing papers are heard. Filing papers? I asked, my heart pounding. When I arrived home, I looked into Zachary's browsing history on our shared laptop, so I knew she was lying to harm me. And there it was, an appointment with a divorce lawyer for the next day. When my buddy Tiffany eventually told me what everyone was saying behind my back, it was the worst. She was clearly uneasy when we met for coffee. As I put it, just spit it out. She let out a sigh. Look, what you did on the trip, it wasn't cool. And not just the Austin thing. The photo was deliberately hurtful. I insisted. Zachary tried to control me. She appeared doubtful and asked, Did he, though? Because from where everyone else stands, he set a boundary in your marriage that you bulldozed over, and then you humiliated him publicly. I objected, saying, "It was just a beach photo. With a guy you used to date, which, by the way, I can't believe you never told Zachary about, with his hand on your ass and a caption about people who truly matter, right after your husband asked you not to go." It looked calculated, Paisley. I was dumbfounded for a moment. She went on, "And then there's the Austin thing. Katie told everyone what she saw, and now Austin's telling guys at the bar. It wasn't even the first time." "He's lying," I said with a cold sweat. "That never happened." Tiffany simply looked at me before. "Maybe, but here's the thing. People believe him because of how you've acted. All the flirty comments, the inside jokes, the way you prioritize him." I muttered, "He's my best friend." "No, I'm your best friend," she replied. "And as your best friend, I need to tell you, you messed up big time, and I don't know if you can fix it." As I was driving home, people weren't simply siding with Zachary because they liked him more. Since I was the one who had acted improperly in this situation, we are siding with him, which was a difficult pill to take. I decided I had to clean up this mess after a week of silence. Since the ultimatum was still powerful, I wasn't prepared to acknowledge that I was entirely mistaken, but I could see that I had overreached myself. I thus texted Zachary to invite him to supper. I was shocked when he said yes. I chose an outfit that I knew he loved, the one I wore on our first anniversary, and spent hours getting ready. I reserved a table at the Italian restaurant where our rehearsal dinner was held. I was going to remind him of our past and what we had. I rehearsed, saying I was sorry in front of the mirror, not too obedient, but just enough. My heart skipped a beat when he entered. He appeared well-rested, yet exhausted. I knew this would be difficult when he sat down without giving me a hello kiss. I began by saying, "I'm glad you wanted to talk." He nodded but remained silent, saying, "I've missed you." "I want to apologize," I added, extending my hand to take his. His fingers were still lifeless in mine, but he let me take it. At the beach, things got out of control. The picture was careless. He questioned bluntly, "And what happened with Austin?" I stumbled. His voice was firm, but I could feel the sorrow in his eyes. "That was a mistake. I'd been drinking, and I was upset about our fight. It didn't mean anything." "So you admit it happened?" he asked. I stammered out, "Yes, but it wasn't outright dishonesty." He withdrew his hand. I was surprised to hear the question. "Paisley, would you consider it cheating if I did exactly what you did with a female friend?" To be consistent, I wanted to say no, but we both knew I would be upset. Instead, I ducked. "This isn't about hypotheticals. This is about us, our marriage. The marriage you were willing to risk over a beach trip," he replied. "Or the one you humiliated publicly?" I retorted. "You're the one who gave me an ultimatum. Already in ruins." Instead of thinking about why I would feel that way, he turned it into a massive power battle because he was attempting to dominate me. "You backed me into a corner. I asked you not to go on one trip because I was uncomfortable with your relationship with Austin." "One trip," he groaned. "Was I?" He appeared truly perplexed. That struck a chord with me because I felt in my heart that there was some truth to the statement. Or was I asking for respect for my feelings to matter as much as Austin's? Austin's needs, feelings, and position in my life had always come first for me. I said, "I just want us to move forward," as my voice became softer. Under the table, I put my hand on his thigh and moved it suggestively upward. "I miss you. I miss us." He firmly took my hand away. I felt vulnerable, like he could see right through all of my tactics. "Sex isn't going to fix this, Paisley. It never has, even though you've tried to use it that way before." "Accountability," he stated plainly. "Then what do you want from me?" The dinner took a turn for the worse after that. I said I was sorry for getting caught, but he responded, "Not for the actions themselves." I used a tactic I had used before, when backed into a corner, hinting at self-harm to get him back down, but this time he didn't fall for it. "Don't do that," he said firmly. That's emotional manipulation, and we both know it. He put money on the table for the bill. I've been talking to a therapist. She's assisting me in recognizing patterns that I've been allowing. So a stranger is urging you to end our relationship? No, he answered, getting to his feet. She's helping me see that I deserve a relationship based on mutual respect. I filed the separation papers yesterday, he added, pausing. I inquired sourly. I sat in that restaurant long after he had left, wondering how it had come to this. How one weekend, one picture, and one mistake could ruin 4 years of marriage. But I knew deep down that it wasn't just one weekend. It was 100 little decisions where I'd put my desires ahead of our marriage. 100 times I'd put Austin's friendship ahead of Zachary's comfort. And 100 times I'd pushed boundaries. Just to show that I could. Paisley, my lawyer, will be in touch.